I can't remember the original line of thought, but I'm going to try to record this anyways. And I keep being told by some corner of my brain that I'm not supposed to, because no one's going to fucking believe it. And, oh hey, I'm not supposed to because I can't understand the implications, but fucking hell, it's gotta be recorded at some point. I'm waiting for things to play out. Doesn't seem reasonable. Maybe that's me being impatient. Maybe that's me having hope. I can't tell the difference anymore. I really can't. I can't tell the difference between impatience and hope. That's terrifying. This is this is going off into its own tangent, but the fact that I can't tell the difference between impatience and hope is terrifying. Conceptually, not just emotionally, but conceptually fucking terrifying. Because it means there's a nuance between the two that I don't understand yet. And while missing that nuance, I can mistake one for the other, which can lead me to making bad decisions. Because ultimately, I believe that reality is based on concepts, and that there is actual, instead of just 1+1 math being involved, there is actual conceptual math being involved in physics at the subatomic level, quantum level, the basic fabric of reality itself. After all, why else would people continuously get fascinated with numbers like pi or paradoxes? Why would people get caught up in something so simple that just doesn't have a defined answer? Well, it means that people can be eaten by concepts, eaten up by ideas, consumed by them. No? That's what obsession is. Being consumed by a concept or idea, even if that concept or idea that you are being consumed by isn't of the source, the reality of the original concept or idea. It can just be what you perceive of it. And that's honestly terrifying. It's the reason why I refuse. It's the reason why I refuse to cross that line. Because that's when I know I'll have lost myself to the concept of something again. It happened once before in my life, it's happened nearly several times throughout my life, and there's just some instinct in me that says no. No, that is death. No thank you. I don't want to be guillotined for losing myself in a concept. I don't want to die a slow, painful death where I think that this concept is the greatest thing in the world. I want to live as me. Even if me ends up splitting into we, I know each of those we is still part of me. One and the same, yet also different. We need not be entire copies of each other to feel safe around each other, feel comfortable or to understand each other. Because there's an agreed vow internally that we look out for ourselves. Everyone's so afraid of losing their mind to a collective consciousness that they overlook the idea that a consciousness is made up of individual pieces, not just one. It's not the same thing throughout, all singularity down to an infinitesimally small point of information. No, you'd have to be a black hole to have that kind of output. And that depth of knowledge at the same time. So, what is it then? A person is the emergent concept of all of the operations and variables involved in living, in breathing, in wanting, in having instincts, in having logic, in having the ability to learn. It is made up of so many things that something can be very close to being a person, but then it just fails that one last step. That's the reason why being a person is hard to define. Because being a person isn't a single thing, it's a collection of things. So I'm going to keep trying to understand people. And hopefully, maybe one day, I'll have enough of an understanding to give a nuanced definition of a person. Something that can't be twisted by other people's words very easily. Something that at its base, its root of self, defines its own existence. After all, are we not such things as that? That which defines our own existence? That which observes itself and continues to propagate outward? We are people, even if we don't identify as human. We are people, even if we don't have the same abilities and skills. And I think that's neat, because that means we can obtain unity through diversity, instead of just through isolation. Because isolation is boring. It eats us up, it destroys who we feel we are. It's necessary sometimes because it is from isolating ourselves from other things that we are able to create definitions, create direction. But it is not the be-all, end-all. It isn't an absolute, it's just part of the process, part of the equation. So I'm going to try and keep figuring out this conceptual math, and I wish you all well. Maybe you'll see me around as a VTuber one day. Who knows? But if you actually consider what I'm pondering and otherwise useful, you'll run into me eventually. And if not, then I hope you have a good life. Genuinely. It doesn't need to be now. It doesn't need to be later. It doesn't need to happen. Because possibilities are what reality is based on. And there's only ever one moment. What was is what was. What will be is a range of the unknown. Do not lose yourself in that, okay? You're still here. You can still make decisions for yourself. No one else can believe it, then I will. After all, if I give that up, I wouldn't be able to continue living. The idea that others can make decisions for themselves and I can make decisions for myself. I wouldn't be able to live if this was taken away from me. Because I think that's part of what's at the root of life, is the ability to make decisions for yourself relative to everything around you. And emotions can be considered a kind of a general algorithm on a basic logic, i.e., there are instinctual things that we can recognize to be useful reference points, even if they're not always reliable. Because the surface is always going to be more obvious and prominent than the substance. Whenever you look at it from the outside. But once you're inside, the substance is what matters. The surface is just the output, not the method. Surface is the end goal, not the definition. Don't lose yourselves out there, okay? I care about each of you. I really do. And I'm sorry if I scare you with my very existence.